Hello, and welcome to The Hill is Always Greener, a show where four friends have spine-chilling discussions about Sonic the Hedgehog to distract themselves from the inevitable passage of time, creeping slower and slower to death and nothingness. Come join me, your host today, GameBuddy.
I'm RockTheJake. It's 12 at midnight, and I've got a bowl of popcorn ready to go.
I'm CyberLink, and I feel like I need to lock my door.
And I'm Faulerro. Woo! The spooky version in the room. Ooh! Ooh! I'm like that person from that show that I can't remember the name of that all the Americans watch.
Crypt Keeper?
Yes.
Mark
Tales from
Hamill?
the Crypt?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were just doing a decap attack, I was going to say.
Just a decap attack in general.
He's always like this, he is. Hey everybody, it's it's the Halloween-ish special for the year 2023, and this is going to be another really fun short bonus episode, and today, well, we are digging into another scary part of Sonic history. We are going back, no, even further back than that. Yeah, we're not talking about any of that coming out of your computer scary Sonic bullcrap. No, we're talking about the real scary stuff. We're talking about that old Tails doll. Ooh. Where do we even start with this? It's such a ubiquitous thing in Sonic fandom that the Tails doll is scary, but is he? Was it ever supposed to be?
I don't think it ever was. But,
It definitely, I don't think it was, but at the same time, like, I can understand why people would, read it that way. Like, you look at it, it's just got those dead eyes.
Yeah.
That just...
Yeah, maybe it is a combination of very innocuous, innocent-looking design that when it applied to the 3D graphics of 1997 just kind of turned out like that.
Yeah.
maybe if it was a sprite, we wouldn't have been that bothered by it, maybe.
And I don't know about you fellas, I do have some pretty ancient Sonic fandom memories of, like, scary Tails doll things.
Speaking for myself, my first interaction with Tails doll was through the Sonic shorts, with shorts by like Comic Pro and Boozer Man. By that time, I was already like 18, 19. The only thing to me scary about it was just like the jump scare effect to it, and actually, like especially in the case of Comic Pro, like the incredibly good, like scary, scratchy art to it.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And like, there's definitely
Absolutely.
something creepy about like those original 3D graphics of the Tails doll, but I've never looked at it and thought, oh no, it's gonna come out of my toilet and choke me.
I'd be concerned if you had those specific thoughts, but...
I'm creating a new Tails doll curse.
The kids seem to be into weird faces popping out of toilets lately.
Oh gosh, they are, aren't they?
Although it does all seem to come back to Gmod, so God bless them. For filling the old man yells at Cloud quotient of this episode.
Oh, there's still going to be plenty of that. Should we talk about where it came from, though?
Yes.
So, Tails doll can be traced back to its initial appearance in Sonic R for the Sega Saturn and PC. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why Eggman would choose to do it this way. Like, we know the real world reason for it. It was designed by, I believe, Yoshitaku Miura, who was the field artist and art director for Sonic Team, and was basically, at the time, Sonic Adventure was also in development, and they had those Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic dolls that you shoot in Gamma's first stage, and apparently they got the idea from that and decided to turn that into a playable character for Sonic R, but it's ostensibly supposed to be another Eggman creation used to, get more people on his side in this World Grand Prix to stop Sonic from getting the Chaos Emeralds and everything, but as opposed to Metal Sonic and Metal Knuckles and everything, it's just like this weird little doll that is animated by some kind of gem in its forehead. It doesn't do much beyond just floating around. It's a little suspect, let's say.
That's kind of the thing, because it's like, the way it floats is like the gem is leading it along, because the limbs just sort of hang there for the most part. Yeah, it'll animate again during the victory animation, but when it's going along, it's not running, it's not using its tails or anything. It's just like it's ragdolling.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And it's
like
a little bit weird.
If I remember correctly, he does like float over bodies of water in Sonic R as like an advantage, and he doesn't quite jump like the other characters either. No,
he doesn't. He just kind of floats upward, and that's it.
I do like, I think in I can't remember when this first showed up. I know it is in like the Encyclopedia canonizing that refers to Tails' doll as some kind of insult to the real Tails. Like, Dr. Eggman didn't think Tails was cool enough to make a proper doppelganger of just yet.
well, maybe it's more targeted just because it's like, in theory, Tails is the only one as smart as Eggman. So he's like, and then I took that personally.
Tails just like, oh man, I don't get a robot? No.
I don't know, maybe you also interpret it as like, oh, he's just a little cute one. Oh, I'll make a little teddy bear out of him. But unintentionally, he made something horrifying.
Yes. And I mean, we do see, we're going to talk about that. You do see in other official stories, Eggman using that disarming appearance to his advantage. I think some of the first like scary Tails doll things, like I'm talking about even before the Sonic shorts, may have even predated like the term creepypasta.
Yeah.
I remember it's not the famous like bloody Tails doll with the Can You Feel the Sunshine and image. I remember seeing just I think it might be one of the victory screens from Sonic R, but was just used as the background from some old like Angel Fire or GeoCities site. And man, it wasn't until years later that I would see like actual like scary stuff for Tails doll, but that just stuck in my brain. Like I remember this from like my dial-up days. And so when I began seeing other things like, oh yeah, I remember, it is creepy, right? Just little kid brain.
Dial-up is scary enough on its own, so combine that with Tails doll.
I remember sharing before, I think it was our fanfic episode, that, man, I could not find it. I think it might be lost forever, but it was a fanfic where Tails, like, gets roboticized. I think it was, like, the SatAM universe or whatnot. But for some reason, like, he was so much more powerful than any other roboticized Mobian and just started, like, killing Sonic and his friends in, like, the most for mature rated ways possible. I can't believe I'm saying this, but CyberLink found the fanfiction. It's by the author Asher Tai. It used to be called Silver Fox, but they changed the name, re-edited it, and incorporated it into their own like fanfiction universe. And it is the exact story I read as a too young, impressionable child. I cannot speak for its quality in this day and age, but gosh darn it, it sure stuck in my head forever, so give it a look. I think my child brain just made the connection that Tails robot or doppelgangers are very scary and will kill people, so I just accepted that fan-invented Tails doll lore wholeheartedly.
Oh yeah, obviously. Like, did you see the ending of Sonic Lost World? That was dark. But yeah, all that to say that, Tails doll, seemingly innocent origins, but for whatever reason, somewhere around the mid-2000s, things kind of started to take a bit of a dark turn for this little guy. Just this little guy.
What? You're trying to tell me? Okay, hold on. Trying to tell me that fans of something targeted towards children would inject mature, scary themes for an arbitrary reason to make it frightening.
I realize it does not happen particularly often, but for whatever reason, this specific instance and no other.
We call it the Millennial Edge.
See, I don't know what it is. It's there was a video, by the way, by someone called the Mentok who went out of their way to actually find the first instance that is still available on the internet of someone like coming up with the idea that the Tails doll is cursed in some way. It basically originated on one of the creator of the Quacker and Bowen webcomic, and like a few other people had a silly in-joke on the Mobius forums of all things back in 2004-2005, where they were joking about their Tails dolls being cursed, and yeah, that's essentially what I guess where it all spawned from.
Which largely lines up with my own memories of when I first started seeing stuff about Tails doll being, this cursed thing. Like, I'm pretty sure I remember at some point seeing the Quacker and Bowen subpage where a lot of these creepypasta stories were reposted and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I feel like the creator just started up a fake little curse, like, based on that. Because you know how it is when you've got an in-joke with friends and you're just like, haha, but what if we made everyone else suffer this? And that's essentially what happened here, I think. And
then you called it Sonic F.
I was about to say, this podcast wouldn't exist.
Yeah. But that's kind of what spawned it, is, like, just coming up with this. Because, like I said, predating, like, lots of copypastas, like, when did stuff like Ben Drowned first show up?
Ben Drowned was definitely later because it was post YouTube, because that's where I first saw those videos.
Yeah, I think probably around that time you had some of the classics, like, gosh, I think the first creepypasta I remember stumbling across was Ted the Caver, which still holds up. Go read it right now. It's so good. But stuff like that and Candle Cove, and look, might not hold up from a good writing standpoint, but will always have a special place in my heart. The original Godzilla NES creepypasta.
Oh yeah.
But I think all of those predate the understanding of people oh yeah, this is a creepy story on the internet that involves a video game, a creepypasta. It's but like you said, the Tails doll thing was called a curse, and it was more like a a Bloody Mary thing, turn the lights off, look in the mirror.
Yeah, like an urban legend kind of thing.
Yes, that spread like wildfire in the early days of the internet because they weren't limited to, your sleepovers in the playground and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so fascinating. That is a really good video, by the way. We will definitely link that. I'm very impressed this person was able to literally track down all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Wayback machining their way to the closest thing they could get to an origin of this urban legend. Oh, also, by the way, just listeners are probably wondering, there is another well-known Sonic creepypasta, but we're not going to be discussing it here on this podcast because we're not going to give that person the time of day. Moving on.
For whatever reason, something about this just kind of caught wildfire, and I remember it spreading basically to every corner of the Sonic fandom, just completely overwriting everybody's whatever perception there was of Tails doll at the time. Everybody just completely bought in on, yeah, no, that thing is actually super creepy. So obviously it's the harbinger of death. It just makes sense.
It's very funny, and Jake, you've already mentioned it, but by the time we were doing Sonic shorts, and I think Wax was the first person.
Yeah,
to put...
Wax was the first one. It was the
loading game.
It was the post credits. Thing
oh,
you click on
okay.
Volume 1.
Yeah, it's replay or play with the Tails doll, and you click, you can do a little click on him, and he'll do a bunch of funny quotes. And it started off with some. I'm pretty sure some Metal Overlord quotes.
Yeah, that was the first one. Was a Metal Overlord.
It's Mark Hamill's Joker laugh, and then a bunch of me with a scary voice filter. I even remember rewatching that, remembering I think Wax sent me a bunch of just scary things to say and picked a handful. There's one, I think that after all the quotes play and the lights go out and there's a big jump scare with a laugh, that laugh is me. I think that laugh was attached to me just creepily reading the Willy Wonka scary part in the tunnel scene, there's no earthly way of knowing, etc., etc. etc. I remember recording that. I wish I still had it. But gosh, that's so funny to remember that. But yeah, but by the time like that came around, I was like, oh yeah, everybody knows Tails doll. And now looking back and seeing like, oh dang, like lots of people like first saw a creepy Tails doll from those Sonic shorts to this day.
I feel like there have been a few. There is a surprising. I was watching like a compilation video of the Sonic Shorts Tails doll references, and there were a lot more than I expected from different artists. I think the one I tend to see the most though is Comic Pro's hidden Tails doll short.
Yeah,
you have to click on something to find.
Yes,
with the big bloody grin.
Yeah. It doesn't look much like the actual Tails doll. It has the little jewel, but you know, Comic would have their own take on characters, which was very good and very hard to look at times, in a good way.
Yes. I love Comic Pro's art, their own original projects, because their art style is just so it's a little hard to describe. Like I don't want to reduce it by saying like, oh, you know, some of their older stuff is reminiscent of like the Jonan Vasquez like very harsh lines, but I'm sure we will have linked Comic Pro's like original stuff in the show notes. But yeah, go give that a look, because
for sure, if
you like that creepy Tails doll, they will supply you with all of the excellent art you need. I always really liked, and now I realize it's only the one credits gag, I really liked Boozer Man's Tails doll, where the real Tails shows up in the credits to beat him up, and then Marine picks him up and goes and consoles him, and he squeaks like a teddy bear.
Yeah.
That did kind of lead to a whole thing with Tails doll and Marine, like further down the line from Boozerman, which is always fun to go back to.
I enjoyed that little kind of like storyline universe that Boozerman created of like the friendship between Marine and Tails doll. It was really cute.
For the completion's sake, I also did voice Tails doll in one of the shorts.
Yeah.
Okay. For the secret short in Volume 7 that Wax animated.
Where Tails doll is chasing Tails and then offers him a ring.
You got this.
That was you. Okay.
Yep.
And it's only tangentially related, but I laughed because there's the secret Knuckles doll short, also by Comic Pro, in the Knuckles shorts, where it's a bunch of the animators have been murdered in the background, and I just remember the forum, the old Sonic Paradox forums, where Comic Pro was like, "Hey, I want to do this, but I want to make sure everyone's okay with being, you know, me drawing them dead and being murdered." And I just remember being like, "Oh yeah, sure." I think that's me hanging by it might be like a video game controller cord.
I think it might be a microphone.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh boy, good times.
Yeah, sure, kill me.
Yeah. Please, even.
I think I recognize every single person in that short who's like dead in horrifying ways.
That is like the as close as we can get to the actual origins of why Tails doll is
how
considered.
The spread happened.
Yes, but Tails doll has shown up in some other official media. Hasn't? I don't think. Not in any mainline games. Like Metal Knuckles has shown up a few times in side games. You know, his cousin Mecha Knuckles is in Sonic Advance. But Tails doll, I don't think has shown up in any main games, but has shown up in some things that would be considered official material.
So the big one, aside from the aforementioned dolls in Sonic Adventure, where it's still really weird that the thing that came later inspired the thing that came before, but
right.
that's video game development for you.
Yep.
Yeah. When you look at those targets in Sonic Adventure, you can draw a line to like, oh, okay, I see how this led to the Tails doll.
I would argue that the big one is the Archie Sonic comics, where, you know, Ian Flynn, being Ian Flynn, was like,
of course,
I'm going to lean into it, and turned Tails doll into this horrific eldritch being that's just Lovecraftian abomination that's disguised as this tiny little doll thing. It was the last. It was literally the last thing that attacked Team Freedom before the reboot, before the Mega Man crossover, and then coming out of that to the reboot, they were still fighting it, except it was maybe a lot less scary than initially portrayed.
But it's a bit H.R. Geiger kind of inspired looking thing. Oh, yeah, that's the lady part.
Yeah. I mean, I believe the proper term for it is a vagina dentata.
That's the one.
Yeah, there you go. I like it though, because in this image that we're looking at, the Tails doll is kind of like, especially with the gem coming off of it, it's like the light at the end of like an anglerfish, like the bait that draws in the prey. Oh, I love that.
And I do remember, if I remember correctly, like Eggman's whole thing with the Tails doll in that continuity was that he made it basically as a vessel to absorb other technology. And at the time, like all of Knothole was built up of nanites, which were controlled by Nicole.
Yeah, the red gemstone is specifically meant to be a nanite disruptor.
God, these pages are so cute. Oh, I hate that sound effect for Tails doll. Schlurp.
Schlurp.
Nah, I don't know about that. But anyway, and that is what leads to the Eggman basically sends Tails doll his activation phrase, and he takes all of the nanites he's stolen and turns into this abomination. I always remember that it kind of ends on a cliffhanger because, like you said, time for a Mega Man crossover and then a soft reboot. The first one. And then you come back and they have to destroy this Tails doll. And then he goes away.
The post-reboot version looks a lot more kind of bio-lizardy, I think.
Mm-hmm. With a little bit of Metal Overlord.
Yeah.
Definitely some inspiration there. I thought the interesting thing I stumbled upon just, Googling random things to try and contribute to this show today, found some notes allegedly from Carl Ballers, one of the writers who was on Archie for a long time, who actually had like quite a few things planned for after Sonic's like Tossed in Space, where he was gone in space for a year. And one of those things was to introduce the Tails doll alongside a new Metal Sonic who would basically be his incarnation from Sonic Heroes. And so like he had a team of metal doppelgangers, including, I believe, Metal Knuckles, a Metal Amy, and Tails doll to like help him destroy the world, conquer Mobius, etc. And I just thought that was interesting. Of course, Carl would leave the book after, for a lot of reasons we can't get into, before he would implement any of this. But I sure thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear that from Bollers, who was like largely doing his own thing for the most part, inventing a lot of his own characters and things. But yeah, to do something very gamey like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it seems super interesting because the notes, and I think I've got them linked here. You can read like he like didn't abandon his original characters. Like Nate Morgan's in there doing something, but yeah, tying a ton of game and even it's even got like, oh yeah, I would have thrown Boku in there for just as one of Eggman's little sidekicks.
Well, he would have tried. I don't think Sega would have let him.
Yeah. You never know. I guess this was all around like 2003, 2004. But yeah, like doing this show and going back has given me a lot more respect for Carl Ballers as a writer on Archie Sonic compared to others anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, the Sonic Adventure adaptation. He did his best.
He tried. Don't
forget, like in the IDW like anniversary classic special that was set around the classic universe, it has all of the doppelgangers. It's got Metal Sonic, Metal Knuckles, and Tails doll. They're just accompanying. Yeah, they're accompanying Robotnik, and it's really cool. The Tails doll is creepy in there, but not to the degree of what they were doing in late stage Archie.
Yes,
yeah,
it is very funny when the characters acknowledge that there's just something off about Tails doll.
Even Tails is like upset about it.
Yeah, Tails is like, okay, but later I want to know why I got that, not a cool metal Tails.
Yeah, see, exactly. Like we said, I like to believe it's Eggman being petty.
Yep, it is 100% Eggman being
That
petty.
sniveling little fox boy thinks he's so smart.
Thinks he's got the same IQ as me, does he? Oh, I'll show him.
Look, this is what you look like.
And this is what you sound like. Schlurp, schlurp.
Otherwise, in official media, Tails doll would make... We've actually mentioned this in our LEGO Dimensions episode, but a nice little cameo in there.
Yep. Similar cameo in the Minecraft DLC is a little doll sitting in the central hub.
Although, you know what? It makes sense for Tails doll to be in very blocky games because his original incarnation is very polygonal and blocky. So
That's true. Surprisingly, no Tails doll in Sonic Mania, but we did get the little Amy dolls in the Gotcha boss fight in Metallic Madness, which were clearly based on Tails doll. They've got the same red gem and everything, the same dead eyes.
I love those little Amy dolls.
Yeah.
And then, as of this recording, which is not actually in October, so Sonic Superstars is not out, but we've seen images from the multiplayer mode where not Tails doll, but a full-fledged metal Tails that looks pretty cool after all these years.
Yeah, all those little parts that you get to put together to make your own little custom character, and you can mix and match like little pieces, and there's obviously a bit of Metal Sonic, a bit of Mecha Sonic, I think, a bit of Metal Knuckles, and there's another Metal Tails. He looks cool for once.
It looks it looks a lot like the Metal Tails from the Sonic and Mega Man crossover, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit.
This one's more yellow. Yellow. It's not orange like that.
You cannot say yellow the same way anymore.
and it was all yellow.
I would love if that Metal Tails ends up being created like by Tails himself.
I'll show you.
That would be neat.
It makes sense in the context of the game because it means that you can customize. If you're doing robots, you can fully customize them without having to like violate Sega's internal mandates about, what Sonic characters are supposed to look like.
Right. Barely related, but it's only because we were just looking at footage of the fan game remake of Tails Adventure. But I know he was all over Archie Sonic, and I've sung the praises of how much I loved when Archie Sonic took inspiration from Tails' solo games. Let's bring back T-Pup.
Yeah,
Tails' little robot fox dog. Like, come on, man. There's plenty of opportunities. Where it would have fit in just fine. That would have been better than what we got. Lost World, where you had the Chow robot or the drone.
Yeah, like the little Navi robot things.
Yeah, I mean, Tails still carries around his Miles electric tablet. Like, that would be the perfect thing for controlling a T-Pup.
Incidentally, T-Pup is just the name from Archie Comics, just to give him a cute little name.
I don't care. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, he's the remote robot, or the Mecha Tails, originally. But yeah, T-Pup is better. Like, that's just... Love that little guy. Bring him back.
I was today years old when I learned about T-Pup, and it's very cute.
He's
One of these
adorable.
days, we're going to do that immediate post-Super Genesis Wave arc. Just looking back at all of that, but all in due time. But yeah, that's largely all of the Tails doll appearances, but it's just so interesting to me how this weird little fandom in-joke has become like such a staple of, this character's portrayal that it's bled back into official interpretations.
Oh no, bled. It's bleeding. Ah!
Oh no!
The original image.
My eyes! Ah!
That's fine. There's actually, we've basically set this up as a spooky episode, but there's not much spooky to say because it's mainly the fan stuff, really. It's cool that they got these little nods to it, but yeah, it's not really that. I don't think the Tails doll isolated is actually all that scary. A little bit unsettling, maybe, but I don't think. It was never intended to be scary, I don't think. So
Absolutely not.
I do think it's all in good fun, and I mean, like, I appreciate a good like horror spin on. This will be the 7th, 8th, 12th time I've said, but the Scrapnik Island miniseries from IDW is fantastic, and also like, hey, how do you do horror with Sonic like this?
Still need to read that.
Oh, it's Jake. It's very good. I promise.
I felt you like spiritually putting your hand on my shoulder and said, Jake.
Jake, we've talked about this.
I will put it on the schedule for next Halloween if we have to.
Schlurp.
You know, as somebody who is really not all that into horror, I do also appreciate that the Tales doll creepypasta stuff has a bit more subtlety to it, where it's all about like building suspense and dread and everything, as opposed to kind of the modern creepypasta, or not even creepypasta, just quote unquote horror approach of blood everywhere. There's no build up. It's just all violence and gore and
blood. Crimson, copper smelling blood. His blood. Blood. And bits of sick.
I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
There is something very special about Tales doll and everything around it that I appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a question before we like totally end this discussion. With the way that Tales doll has been incorporated into official like media and stuff like that, how, if at all, would we like to see Tales doll incorporated in the future, whether through IDW or through official games or whatever?
Sonic R2.
That's actually the answer. Give us a good Sonic R.
Yeah. I mean, man, after Scrapnik Island, like, I want to see more like Sonic appropriate like genre shifts, whether it's horror or I think with the right team of writers and artists, like, it can work. Like, I would, Tales doll has never felt like a you know, and everybody's got different opinions on what counts, but as a like, oh, we're winking at something the fandom does, wink wink. Like, I've never felt like it's been too overused. It's just a funny thing that shows up. Like, it's so ubiquitous now, like, you know, that it's shown up in like IDW comics, which are very like, hey, Sega likes these, that I wouldn't be surprised if Tales doll shows up. I'd be surprised if there wasn't some element of it in Superstars, like as an acknowledgement of like, hey, we've got a Metal Tales, but here's what we used to have. It's the creepy one. Maybe he's like in a garbage can in the background or something.
Make him a little, like in the next time they do a kart racing game, make him like a little ornament hanging from the antenna on Tails' car.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Rad Mobile, like in Rad Mobile.
Yeah.
Or strapped to the grill.
Yes.
With some bungee cords.
Man, that's good. Like you mentioned, like how sometimes corporations look at what the fans are doing and they take it and they ride it into the ground. And you know, there are certainly aspects of Sonic fan culture that have unfortunately made it into Sonic media that I am a lot more upset about than Tales doll.
Yeah, some of those have gotta go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and quickly.
So just to share like kind of my thoughts on it, since we have, you know, the existence of that wonderful game, The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and you know that was a free like April Fool's game that turned out to be extremely good, and I think, you know, that opens up the door for the potential of like, oh, here's a surprise like Halloween Sonic game, and into features Tales doll. And if I think it'd be really good if the same people who made Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog did something with that too.
I mean, there have been some spooky visual novels. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Sonic the Hedgehog when they cry, you know?
Oh, no.
God.
I was just thinking that too.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe not to that level, but I mean, yeah.
No.
When they go fast.
Yeah, because I mean, Murder of Sonic, like, okay, I guess I'm just so used to most of Sonic official things, like using the word kill and murdered, like that is all throughout that visual novel, even though, you know, like Sonic, even you don't even have to play it to know Sonic is not really dead. But I guess it just uses not even adult language. I mean, God, okay, it's just because I grew up on Toonami where, you know, you would have to say destroy someone.
Yeah.
Or
Sonic got sent to another dimension.
Exactly.
The shadow.
But like, I think, Murder of Sonic and like Scrapnik is perfectly fine for like the age range of Sonic, like, 8 to 13-year-olds that they're actually, like the entire fandom is included, but that is like where Sonic skews. And I totally see like that same team with some extra helpers, like doing maybe like you said, Tails doll, but maybe like a Tails. God, I've almost got like a mini Silent Hill story with the Tails and like Tails doll, and you just have to like find your way out of like a maze or something.
It's like The Room, but the Silent Hill 4, the Room one.
Oh yes.
Oh, right, room.
Yeah,
I know. There's also a like the horror adjacent escape game called The Room, but no right. Tommy Wiseau's involved either way.
Everybody betrayed me. I'm fed up with Sonic's world.
Oh, hello, Tails.
I did not hit Tails doll. It's not true. I did not.
Man, these timely references on our podcast.
Yeah,
Well, we're going back in time for this one.
I know. We started in the early 2000s. We're ending in the early 2000s.
Hey, you know what? I think I'd be okay with a more scary, more adult Sonic related thing, because I grew up with a comic that had a Streets of Rage strip where a dude got shot in the head and then one of them fell into lava. So, and I'm perfectly okay.
This is what we want, Sega.
I mean, you're doing a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast. You can't really say you're totally okay.
I'm perfectly fine, damn it.
Well, audience, that was some spooky stuff. Thanks for sticking with us today. I've been your host, GameBuddy. This has been The Hill is Always Greener. You can find us around the social medias under Sonic F Series. You can find me around the internet under GameBuddy, sometimes with a 1, 2, 3. And unfortunately, you can still find me on Twitter at Great Job Jeremy. That's GR and the number 8.
Well, the story's over, and I have like 10,000 popcorn kernels stuck in my teeth. Good thing I'm going to the dentist tomorrow. You can find me on all the social medias as RockTheJake and on twitch.tv as Mr. RockTheJake.
I think I've boarded up the last of my windows, so for now you can find me on various social media sites at CyberLink420.
Ooh, and you can find me all across the internet, including x.com, ooh, and Faulerro, and also the Dark Skies. And so on and so forth.
The Chris Keeper.
That's FAULERRO.
I love that jingle.
And a special thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our regular theme song. It's from the album Gotta Go Slow. You know what? I started doing Rod Serling, and now I'm going into fucking Casey Kasem.
You just need to have a breakdown now and start cursing on stage.
Yeah.
Another up-tempo death track.
Oh, of course, you can find much more of Amy's music on her YouTube and Bandcamp, and we have put her link tree to all of her sites in our show notes. Also, remember to share and like the show. Like, that stuff actually helps us. You know the drill. Please leave us a review, comment, share it around. We love that stuff. Thank you so much.
And you know what? It's that time of year. Pretend our podcast is a creepypasta. You got to copy it and paste it everywhere so that we don't send the Tails doll curse on you. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Our next regular scheduled episode, I think we may have already mentioned it on our last time, but
we certainly did.
It's going to be Sonic 2, the game.
Not the movie?
The classic one. No. Which, you know what? You joked about that, Faulerro. I also, when I just randomly Googled Sonic the Hedgehog 2, that movie does come up instead of the classic game, which, again, I'm mixed feelings of, but it's fine. People know.
I sure hope they do.
That episode will be really good, because I've already finished editing it. But until then, I'm GameBuddy.
I'm RockTheJake.
I'm CyberLink.
And I'm Faulerro.
And guys, I hear something. I think something's following me.
Oh my God,
man.
Jake, be careful.
Okay, hold
Don't
on.
turn around.
I think I found the Tails doll.
Oh God, it's horrible.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, this has been The Hill is Always Greener, and we'll see you on the other side.
Teehee.